Hey everyone, Mah-Dry-Bread here. Pokemon Red with only one Sandile was a wild solo run. Let's follow up with another weird one. Today's the day that we figure out would I be able to beat Pokemon Emerald with a team of only one Slaking. So you know why we're using this one already, right? Slaking has super high stats. It's an insanely strong normal type Pokemon, stronger than many legendaries, but it has one massive drawback. It's got the ability Truant. Much like the Regigigas runs with Slow Start, we have an ability that holds us back. Truant makes it so that we do nothing every other turn. I figure it's going to have a pretty massive effect on how we play the game, especially since Protect can completely shut us down. Truant could cause us some real issues the entire run. I mean, even if we're one-shot sweeping every one of a trainer's Pokemon, we're still giving every new Pokemon that comes out a free hit on us. That's going to add up a lot, especially if they open by using effects like Poison or Paralysis. By level up, we honestly don't really learn very good moves, although Yawn is kind of cool. We start with Slack Off, and that's awesome, it's a healing move. Feint Attack will at least get us to hit ghosts, and Flail could be useful if our health is already really low, although flailing with our health really low is probably a death sentence considering they could just then hit us the next turn with another Pokemon. Overall, nothing too special. By TM on the other hand, there's a ton of good moves we can learn. Earthquake, Ice Beam, Return, Thunderbolt, Brick Break, Fire Blast, Aerial Ace. We can learn just about anything I'd be interested in. We're mostly a physical attacker, but we do still have such great special attack that there's no harm in learning something like Ice Beam if the type is useful enough. I don't know how many of these moves I'll learn, but I'll be collecting a lot of TMs this run for sure. Like always, I'm writing the script as I go through the challenge, so all this part is being written before I've started. Everyone comment down below and guess if I can win or not. I honestly have no idea. Yeah, our stats are good enough to get in the Hall of Fame, but won't Pokemon with Protect just totally shut us down? This one's more of an experiment than anything. I'm curious to see what goes well and what goes horribly. Let's explain the rules. In combat, I can only use Slaking. I'll need other Pokemon to use HMs, but I won't be allowed to use any of those Pokemon in battle. The glitches or exploits, no items in battle, only Pokeballs, held items, and items outside of combat are allowed. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let's do this. So right off the bat, I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Trico with Slaking so that we can do the whole run with it. I picked to replace Trico so that our rival would have Kabuskin, probably the hardest for us to fight. I name him King Mabel. He may look immobile, but I bet we could bust out an awesome spinning heel kick. Our nature is quirky, so neutral stat gains, fine with me. So, while we travel, I've got to answer the burning question that I know you're all gonna ask. Why start with Slaking and not Slack Off? Well, I figure that most of the point of this challenge is all based around the ability Truant. If we started with Slack Off, then for a decent chunk of the game, we would be a Vigoroth. Vigoroth doesn't have Truant. Considering I would for sure be leveling enough to be a Vigoroth before the first gym, we may as well just use Slaking the entire time so that we have the handicap of Truant the entire run. You know what I mean? Alright, you're not ready for this rock gym fight. So we got there at level 15, and this fight encapsulates just how many issues we're gonna have thanks to Truant. We have Yawn to keep them asleep, and Slack Off to heal back up, and although Scratch isn't a very strong move, we do have super high attack. It's normal type, and it's got tons of power points, so you'd think that we'd have no problem. Well, guess again. Usually these gym battles take about 2 or 3 minutes to finish in a solo run. This fight went 9 minutes and 11 seconds, and it went wrong in so many ways. Right away, they used Rock Tomb a bunch, so not only do we miss turns from Truant, but we're also slower on the turns where we actually fight back. Because we give them so many extra turns, they use a lot of those maxing out their defense early on with Harden. If they had not used Harden at all, then maybe we'd have 4 or 5 hits to make them faint, but Harden totally changed that. As if we weren't doing bad enough damage as is, she also has 2 potions and an Oran Berry to heal back up with. We may have Slack Off to heal with, but that means that we're skipping a cycle of getting to attack, and that's twice as punishing as if we were using any other Pokemon. They could basically do whatever they wanted because the whole battle was a chip fight, and they had as much time as they needed to do whatever they needed to do. This fight was so insanely long that we actually ran out of scratches near the end of the Nose Pass fight, and had to try to creatively waste our Encores and Yawns to use Struggle, but we were nearly out of Slack-Offs to heal with by the end, so it was important to try and not use them up too early. In the end, we managed to switch to Struggle and win, but it was close. That was a crazy first gym fight. Now you might think we're in the clear because we're past the rock gym, but I think the next gym might be even harder. Normally the fighting gym isn't too bad, but not only are we a normal type, but he's got a Pokemon with Focus Punch. Normally that's easy to deal with, you just hit him so that he can't use it. But because of Truant, he can simply do it, and we can't do anything to stop him. It's a super strong fighting move, so I expect it to do a ton of damage to us. We might actually just faint before we can even get to the Makuhita at the end. I made sure to pick up the Silk Scarf before going into the gym for a bit more damage, but it's only going to power us up by 10% since this is Gen 3. I made sure to do the Granite Cave first for just a bit more experience. Wish me luck. So at level 18, I give the fighting gym a shot. Right away, Machop uses Bulk Up after our scratch, so his Karate Chop is a bit stronger, but he didn't crit, so we lucked out and took him out. Second is Meditite, who used Reflect instead of Focus Punch, so we got to Encore him into wasting his time using Reflect every turn. We took him out on the same turn that Reflect wore off. This is perfect. Last is Makuhita, and although we took him to below half health with one scratch, his Vital Throws were just a little too strong for us and we fainted. Well, you know what? It was a loss, but it was less insane of a loss than I was expecting. I'll go clear out the Beach of Trainers and come back. We might not be too far off of a win. A little bit more health might be what does the trick. So clearing out all the trainers in the area got us ahead by 5 levels, and it completely changed the fight. Machop was now a one-shot, Meditite just used Bulk Up so it didn't hit us, and although Makuhita wasn't able to do much to us, it was still actually kind of dangerous. We still won, but we were cutting it a bit close. If you used Vital Throw every turn, we would have probably gotten into red health. How's the rival gonna go? Well, it goes alright, but really it's because of their own bad move choice. Kabuskin was the only dangerous one, and if it just spammed Double Kick, then we might be in trouble, but it used Focus Energy instead. In fact, it used Focus Energy after already using Double Kick. If it had done that first, then maybe it would have actually crit us. Not too bad. Alright, now I think that we have a nightmare fight coming up. Next up is the Electric Gym, and I can't see any way that we're gonna get around getting paralyzed. Being Truant is bad enough, but Paralyzed and Truant is horrible. Not only that, but he's got a Steel type, and we've got no good answer for that. If we really wanted to, we could get rid of Encore in favor of Rock Smash, but it's a super weak move in this game, and we wouldn't be able to unlearn it until we're past the Flying Gym. Do I really want to be stuck with it for that long? Probably not, but maybe I do it anyway. I'll clear out all the trainers in the area, top up my level if I'm about to level up, then I'll just try the gym and see what happens. While I travel, now's a great time for MDB AMA. It's funny. I seem to have blacked out after the last AMA, but I've got these questions already here that were meant for last week. I guess I'll just answer them now. Aiden asks why Drowsy is my favorite Pokemon. I'm not totally sure, but I think I just always thought the design was cool. I started playing Pokemon literally the day Gen 1 came out in English, and Drowsy quickly became my favorite. I think it's because I found Psychic types super cool in Gen 1 because of the really interesting sounds and the looks of all of their moves. Drowsy was a pretty easy to get Psychic type in that game, so that's a big part of it. Plus, Gen 1 Drowsy was a really strong Pokemon. Before the special attack and special defense split, where, you know, Drowsy ended up with kind of low special attack and high special defense. Before that, Gen 1, no, it just had really high special. It was crazy strong. Gigaman wants to know what my favorite wrestling finisher is, and wishes me a happy birthday. Thank you, thank you. I think my favorite finisher is probably the reverse spinning STO. I'm a big Mike Knox fan, but people nowadays probably know that move more from either Alex Shelley, Bray Wyatt, or Switchblade Jay White. It's just a really cool move, and everyone does it a bit differently. If I was gonna have a runner-up move, though, the Black Hole Slam from Abyss. Oh, I could watch compilations of the Black Hole Slam forever. Also, Tests running Big Boot. That's pretty high up there. His was really good. Bicker Boom wants to know if I like horror games. Yeah, I like some. I've Let's Played Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, as well as Outbreak File 1 and File 2 on this channel. I'm actually super proud of all of those Let's Plays, especially the Outbreak ones, because I did some like fancy multicam editing in that so you can see everyone's perspective whenever we split up. I'm also a big fan of Resident Evil 1, although I don't think I've played that on the show. I used to speedrun Silent Hill 2 for fun, and recently Suki and I streamed Devour, that's up on the channel as well. I'm not like a massive horror game guy or anything, but I do enjoy some of them for sure. I'm not really a big fan of like the ones where it's like a walking simulator with hiding also added to it, like, I don't know, Outlast. I don't know, I don't find those ones very interesting. Kenneth Clark asks if I ever find shinies in these playthroughs. I found a few, yeah. Whenever I see one, I make sure to show it on screen. It doesn't really happen as often as you would think, though. Off the top of my head, I remember a Poochyena, which I think was like before you even got Pokeballs. It was so early in the game. I think there was a Slackoth really early in these runs, and there was that one crazy time that my Sawaddle starter was a shiny in a Pokemon Black with only first form bug run. I know there's been like 1 or 2 other shinies, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm not really a shiny hunter, so it's not really something I pay that close of attention to be honest. And lastly, Jack Capel wants to know what Pokemon challenge out of all of them took the longest to finish. I mean, I don't actually know which one for sure took the most hours of playtime, but a few stand out as taking a really long time. Pokemon Emerald with only poison moves and Pokemon Black with only first form bugs were some of the few runs that took so long that they were a week late, so those are at least in the top 5 longest. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond with no new moves pretty much consumed every waking moment of my life for the week that I played it, like to the point that I would undock my Switch and take it with me on walking breaks just to keep grinding, so that's gotta be up there too. Then there was the Wobbuffet run in Emerald, which was one of the first challenges I did. I think that was like my 4th challenge. That one took forever, just a lot of struggle grinding, and I also had to like switch grind up a Zigzagoon to an absurd level, just so that I could get it leftovers. Although, I lucked out and it picked up the leftovers really fast. So at least that didn't take forever. I remember the Magikarp run taking forever as well, although part of that is probably that I was just very inexperienced at the time. Like, that's before my Pokemon challenges even blew up. Pretty much nobody was doing Pokemon challenges back then. It was like me, J-Rose, Picaspery did, I think, 1? There's probably 1 or 2 other people who put out a Pokemon challenge video by then of that format, or similar format at least. Anyway, if I did that Magikarp challenge now, I'm sure there's probably some ways I could have done it more efficiently, but I obviously have no interest in redoing the challenge. What's the point? You guys have already seen it, you know? I may as well do something fresh and new and have some fun with that. Plus, I'm sure it's not gonna shock you to learn that Magikarp solo runs are not exactly fun. Anyway, that's it for this MDB AMA. If you have any questions you want answered on the show, just leave it in the comments with MDB AMA all as one word so it's easy to search for. Only real questions, please. Putting MDB AMA in comments that aren't questions for this section just makes my job harder. Thanks. So I get to the gym at level 30 and try this a few times. Voltorb is always a one-shot, and so is the Electric after, although sometimes we get paralyzed off of static. We didn't this time, but Magneton had to spend its first move paralyzing us. Now, as long as we keep Silk Scarf on, then our Scratch does quite a bit more damage than Feint Attack, but it still is very hard to get hits in. We often get paralyzed, we often get confused and hit ourselves, and on this try, we even got crit by a Shockwave, but thanks to Slackoff keeping us pretty healthy, we actually lucked out and took him out. That might have just been from a crit though. It's hard to say if he'd have survived with a Sliver. It didn't matter though, Manectric easily finished us off right after. I think I'm gonna have to get a few levels for more health, then keep trying. This might not be super far off. So I came back 3 levels later, this time with Covet instead of Scratch, although they're the same power. Things went the same until Magneton. Now we got confused early in this one, and actually had worse paralysis luck than before, but thanks to a critical Covet early on, we ended up taking out Magneton pretty early. We still lost half our health though. Last was Manectric, but we totally lucked out. Despite having bad paralysis luck, Manectric ended up wasting an entire 4 turns with Howl, then just kept using a pretty weak Shockwave. We had to heal back up with Slackoff, and we almost fainted thanks to missing many turns, but it only took 2 hits to take him out. That means we're on the road to Maxie and the Fire Gym, and I actually think that they'll go fine. Every gym before this has been a difficult one in its own way, but I think that we might have a bit of smooth sailing. Who knows, maybe Overheat will mess us up at the Fire Gym, but there's no way Maxie is a problem. Sure, our attack will be down from Intimidate, but we have so much attack in the first place that I think that we're gonna do fine. I made sure to pick up Secret Power on the way to replace Covet since it's nearly twice as strong. Plus, we can cause paralysis in gym battles thanks to it being indoors, so that could really save us. I don't think we're going to run into any other really hard fight until maybe the Skarmory at the Flying Gym, so let's go win some battles. Well, as expected, Maxi was super easy. We just took a lot of damage at the end when Camerupt rolled a 7 on Magnitude and crit at the same time, but there was no way that we could have actually lost this. Next is the Fire Gym, and although we swept our way to Torkoal just fine, she used Attract, and we had horrible luck with hitting it. We were letting her body slam us over and over and over thanks to losing so many turns between Attract and Truant, but it still didn't take us many hits before we took her out. I'm happy we have so much health. How do you think the normal gym is gonna go? But on our way there, I took the Root Fossil. I knew that if I didn't say what I took, you'd all ask. Actually, now that I think about it, everyone ask anyway. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. You know, one of these days, I should probably just not include the fossil thing to see if you actually do all ask anyway. Well, the whole normal gym was really easy other than his Slaking. We have a good 8 levels on it, but it actually ended up doing a ton of damage to us because of something I didn't anticipate. We never had to worry about counter since it's got its Truant too, and we were never attacking on the same turn, but one of our secret powers ended up paralyzing him to make his Facade do way more damage. It was still an easy first try though. Okay, with that done, I can finally get access to a new TM. I go straight for the ship to get an Ice Beam TM. Again, our attack is higher than our special attack, but our special attack is still really high. I figure that Ice Beam is a must-have for the Flying Gym, and later on at the Dragon Elite 4 member. We've got a rival fight and the Flying Gym coming up. The rival is always easy, but I'm a little bit worried about the Flying Gym. It's got a Skarmory after all, and those are always really annoying to fight. Let's see how it goes. So, I thought that there was a chance that our rival could have given us issues because her Pelipper has Protect, but she just stopped using it pretty much right away, so we won really easy. Man, if she was smart, she could have used it every other turn and stalled us out until she ran out of power points on it. I don't know if it would have gotten her a win, but it definitely would have been a harder fight. First up at the Flying Gym was a one-shot on Swablu, of course, and second is Tropius, who hits a super weak Aerial Ace before we took her down. Pelipper is next, and she missed Supersonic, but then was smart and went for Protect on the turn where we could attack. It followed up with a crazy weak Water Gun, then decided not to use Protect again, so we took it out. Good. Third is Skarmory though, and right away we got hit by Sand Attack. That's really bad. Ice Beam did great damage, and we were hardly getting hurt, but then we missed our next Ice Beam, so she got to keep hitting us. Then we missed another Ice Beam, so she hit us even more, but on the third try, we hit and took her out with about half of our health left. Last is Altaria, who just spammed Dragon Dance until we hit an Ice Beam for a one-shot. Well, it could have gone a lot worse. So we have a lot of travel to do now, but I'm feeling good about the next chunk of the run for once. Now I know what you're thinking, but the Psychic Gym is soon. It's always a nightmare in solo runs, and it's gonna be even worse with Truant. And you'd be right, it might be horrible, but at least we can get the TM for Shadow Ball, and that's physical in this game. I figure it's gonna be a one-shot on our whole team, so as long as our health holds out, then maybe we could get a win. I also went to the department store to buy the TM for Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam actually recharges on the Truant turn, so considering it's physical in this game, is basically the perfect move for a Gen 3 Slaking. I'm not going to learn it right away since it doesn't have many power points, but I'm going to keep the TM in our back pocket just in case. Now let's go take out Maxi and that Psychic Gym. First is Maxi with Mighty Anna, and not only did we lose attack early, but we also lost 2 stages of speed to Scary Face, plus a little bit of health before taking her out. Crobat was obviously faster than us, and confused us early, but we nailed an Ice Beam for a much needed one-shot. Last was Camerupt, who was doing a bit of damage to us, but it didn't really matter. We just overpowered him easily in a few hits of Secret Power. Next up is the Psychic Gym, and this one was nuts. Bear with me, it's hard to recap double battles. Right away, we use Shadow Ball to one-shot Claydol, as Xatu uses Psychic to take out Magikarp. Solrock comes in, and weirdly enough, both it and Xatu used Sunny Day on the same turn to waste their turns. On the next round, we use Shadow Ball to one-shot Solrock, and Xatu just wastes his chance to hit us with Calm Mind. This is going pretty great. On our Truant turn, Xatu uses Calm Mind again as Lunatone successfully gets us with Hypnosis, and I thought that this fight was over. Xatu uses Calm Mind yet again, and now Lunatone is doing it too. But then we woke up just to loaf around, and Xatu finally uses Psychic, taking out half of our health, as Lunatone uses its second Calm Mind. Naturally, I use Shadow Ball to take out the super powered up Xatu right away, and Lunatone uses its third Calm Mind. We loafed around and I thought it was over when he used Psychic just for us to survive with a Sliver, then hit a Shadow Ball to one-shot Lunatone. That was so incredibly close, it's insane. That means we're in for some of the last traveling. We have an Archie fight, the Water Gym, and the Wally fight. Now I'm really worried about that Water Gym because Kingdra is usually horrible to fight, and Wally might even be pretty hard, but Archie is probably gonna go fine. I made sure to pick up Earthquake on the way since I figure that it'll probably be useful in the Elite Four, but I don't really know for sure yet. We'll find out with time, I'm sure. First up is Mighty Anna, and we actually aren't strong enough for a one-shot, but it doesn't matter, all he did was use Swagger to raise our attack and we never hit ourselves before taking him out. Second is Crobat, so we take a wing attack, but this time we did actually end up hitting ourselves to take quite a bit of damage. We were down below half health when we finally hit an Ice Beam for the knockout. Last is Sharpedo, but Secret Power just demolished it thanks to that attack boost. Still, we took a lot of damage in that fight. First try at the Water Gym, and it starts great with us sweeping our way all the way to Kingdra. The problem is that Kingdra just spams Double Team. That's twice as big of a problem in a run where we're attacking half of the time. Not only that, but he likes using Rest to heal back up whenever we do land a hit, so we just can't seem to hurt him enough. I think I'll try again, but I'll start with Shadow Ball. Maybe if I do less damage early on, he won't go straight for the healing moves. So I tried again by using Shadow Ball, but we were still doing too much damage, and he was just using Rest every time. We constantly get confused off of Water Pulse too, so it really doesn't do us any favors, and he keeps using Double Team to insane levels of evasion. Okay, maybe if I try Ice Beam, it'll be weak enough that we could get him in the range for Secret Power to take him out. If that still doesn't work, maybe I'll try Return instead of Secret Power, and if that doesn't work, then it's Hyper Beam time. Nope, still isn't happening. Ice Beam still does less damage, but he's still using Rest every time. Alright, I'm gonna try Return, that's quite a bit stronger. There we go, that did the trick. One Return with Silk Scarf was just enough to one-shot Kingdra. I didn't even need to use Hyper Beam yet, so that's nice. Honestly, I don't know if we're gonna need Hyper Beam the whole run since Return with Slaking is so strong, but if it saves us some grinding at the end of the run, then I'll for sure give it a go. Next up is Wally, and believe it or not, this took tons of tries. Wally's not usually a hard one. Altaria is always just an easy one-shot, but second is Delcatty, who sometimes does nothing to us, but sometimes she hits Charm, and that ruins the whole fight. Next is Magneton, and I lost 9 times to this one. It confuses us all the time, Thunderbolt hurts us a ton, sometimes it paralyzes us, and it spams healing items every time we get its health low, but we lucked out this try, and the Shadow Ball and Return landed perfect damage ranges to take it out before it could heal. I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times that Return would have left him with a sliver. Next is the Roselia that I lost to the only time I ever got to it, thanks to it using Toxic and Leech Seed while we were still confused. But on this try, we just hit Ice Beam for a one-shot before it could use either, and last is Gardevoir, who just used Future Sight, and we took it out with a Shadow Ball. Believe it or not, but this Wally fight took more tries than any other fight in the game so far. Now that we're at the Elite Four, let's take a look at our stats. I have to say, I'm feeling pretty iffy about our chances right now. Yeah, our stats are awesome, other than our pretty mediocre special defense, but anytime we get paralyzed or confused, we're pretty much useless. There's a lot of ways this could go wrong, but I do think that we stand a chance through sheer force. Make your final guesses on if we can win this or not. Let's do this. First is Dark Trainer Sydney. First up was Mighty Anna, who goes down in one hit, but it's got Intimidate, so our attack is down the whole fight. Second is Shiftry, and I was worried because he kept using Double Team, and misses are pretty brutal when you only attack half the time, but he actually used it for so long that we took him out without getting hurt anyway. Return left him with a Sliver, and he healed, but Ice Beam was a one-shot. Next is Cacturn, who was also a one-shot with Ice Beam, but because of Truant, he got us with Leech Seed first. That's pretty bad. Next up is Crawdaunt, though. We left him with a Sliver, and was losing health to Leech Seed fast. Between that and his strength hitting pretty hard, we actually fainted. Alright, I'll try again in a couple of levels. I'm sure we could get one-shots after that. Okay, 2 levels later. Mighty Anna is of course still a one-shot, and Shiftry was a one-shot with Return as well, as all it used was Double Team. This time, Cacturne used Cotton Spore instead of Leech Seed, and we still ended up being faster, so we took it out without getting hit. And we didn't get hit against Crawdaunt because he just used Swords Dance. Speaking of, Absol at the end was faster than us and got 2 moves in, but it was just Swords Dance twice, so we never got hurt. That went great. Second is Ghost Trainer Phoebe. Now, we instantly failed the first try when she just kept using Protect, and then Curse absolutely doomed us, but on the second try she used Protect twice in a row instead, but then on the third turn she must have used something else, because we went first and we one-shot her. We lost a lot of power points to Pressure though. Second is Bayonet, who hardly hurt us with Feint Attack before going down in 1 Shadow Ball, but third was Sableye, and this thing was a nightmare. Despite only needing 2 hits to take her out, it took entire minutes. She used Double Team a bunch early on and healed after the first hit, so we were left just missing over and over and over. Every once in a while we'd switch back to Slack Off to heal, just to keep trying. I was using Ice Beam most of the time to save on Shadow Balls for the rest of the fight, and it actually went so long that we ran out. Not only that, but she ran out of moves that could hit us at some point, so she was just failing Nightshade every turn. It took about 4 entire minutes, but eventually we took her out. After that was another Bayonet who hardly hurt us before going down in 1 hit, and last was Dusclops. Now I was instantly petrified when she froze us with an Ice Beam early on, but thankfully, we defrosted after a few turns and hit a Shadow Ball for a one-shot. That was an insane fight. Third is Ice Trainer Glacia. This was a weird fight. See, her entire first 4 Pokemon are one-shots, but between Hail and her spamming Ice Beam, we always faint against Walrein at the end when we don't get our one-shot. You'd think that the answer would be to heal, but all they do is exactly enough damage that by the time that we heal and get to attack again, our health is back to where it was before we didn't make any progress. That means to win, we either need more attack, more health, or a stronger attack. Guys, I think it's time to crack out Hyper Beam. I've been excited for this. So I try again with Hyper Beam. Now this battle was insanely close because even with us being a one-shotting machine, Hail and Ice Beam really do chip away at us badly over the course of the fight. But in the end, we survived Walrein's attack with about 20 health left and one-shot it with Hyper Beam. Good thing I have loads of PowerPoint items, because even after using a PowerPoint max on Hyper Beam, it still doesn't have many uses. Fourth is Dragon Trainer Drake. Right away, it started badly with Shelgon using Protect, so we can't just take it out right away, but at least we got hurt a bit by Dragon Claw, so it's not that bad. It went down, and next was Altaria, who hit a Dragon Breath before we one-shot it with Ice Beam. Kingdra was next, and it got us with Smokescreen, but we one-shot it with a Hyper Beam. I mean, that's good that it went down fast, but I don't like the accuracy drop, especially since Hyper Beam is not 100 accuracy in the first place. Flygon got us with an Earthquake for decent damage, but we missed with our Ice Beam, so it just kept hitting us. We had to use Slack Off because our health was getting super low. That let it Earthquake us another 2 times though, so I had to Slack Off again. It looks like we're making a net positive of about 30-ish health, so I just kept repeating the process, waiting for him to run out of Earthquakes, and eventually he did, and it paid off as his Flamethrower did a bit less damage, but we missed an Ice Beam and had to go back to healing again. This fight took absolute ages, and I figured we were doomed after getting burned, so I just went for Ice Beam and took it out. We're really hurt though. Last is Salamence, but thanks to all the loafing around with a burn, we just fainted before we could attack. We were 1 hit away from winning. I'm gonna try again, just not getting burned would have given us the win there. Okay, next try, and although Shelgon does less damage to us, it hit Rock Tomb, so our speed is down the whole fight. That might have an effect. Altaria goes down easily still, and this time Kingdra uses Dragon Dance and Surf, so we don't lose accuracy, we just lose more health. That's probably a good thing. Flygon is still spamming Earthquake, and we're still healing, but it didn't go as long as last time, before we just committed and went for an early Ice Beam, but we were crit right before it happened, so once again we had less health going into the Salamence fight than I wanted. Thanks to that and the speed loss, we ended up going down in a couple of Dragon Claws. Okay, if it wasn't for the last moment crit, we would have won. I'm gonna keep trying, this is all just bad luck so far. Alright, third time, this time Shelgon uses Protect twice in a row, so we could just hit him on the third turn so we didn't lose any speed, and Altaria just uses Dragon Dance a bunch so we didn't get hit. Kingdra just uses Dragon Dance twice in a row, so we got in a Hyper Beam without losing any accuracy. That's a huge deal. Flygon was using Earthquake like always, but we just hit an early Ice Beam for a one-shot. Last is Salamence, and its Dragon Claw hit hard, but we just one-shot it with an Ice Beam on the follow-up. That wasn't so bad. Finally, Pokemon Champion Wallace. Right away, we obviously one-shot Wailord with Hyper Beam, and second is Tentacruel, who hits hard with Hydro Pump, but goes down right after. That's when things go downhill fast. Is Ludicolo, and he's spamming Double Team. Because of that, we miss a bunch, and he ends up getting us with Leech Seed. We healed early to try and stay alive, but it took forever to actually hit him. Whiscash wasn't hard to one-shot, as it was just using Amnesia, but next was Water Onix, and the Leech Seed damage was getting pretty bad by now. He ended up taking us out quickly. Okay, if we didn't get hit by Leech Seed, then I bet we could win. Maybe I'll heal against Whiscash instead of against Ludicolo next time. So I tried tons more times before we got a run where Hydro Pump missed, so we had more health going forward, but we missed a ton of Hyper Beams against Ludicolo. Not only that, but we missed a Hyper Beam against Whiscash too, so it actually hit us for once. The problem is, no matter what, every time I make it to Water Onix, we end up losing. I tried using Shadow Ball first to soften him up so Hyper Beam would one-shot him, but he's faster thanks to Dragon Dance, so he always takes us out with a Hyper Beam at some point. I think that I actually do need to be a few levels higher, just to be faster if anything. I started trying more again at level 65. A few tries later, and we hit Ludicolo early so he didn't get to build up too many double teams. Whiscash just used Amnesia, so we took it out no problem, and now we're at Water Onix with full health. It's using Dragon Dance twice in a row, so I tried Shadow Ball first to drop it to low enough health that we can probably Hyper Beam it down. It hit super hard with 2 Earthquakes, but we took it down with Hyper Beam with about a third of our health left. Last is Melodic, who hit Surf to take us to red health, and we nearly fainted, but we outsped it and one-shot it with Hyper Beam. Whew, that was so close. With that victory, we get into the Hall of Fame and we win the run, but you know it's not over yet. Gen 3 has a post-game fight with Stephen Stone. Now, I'm not really convinced we can win this fight considering we're giving him a free hit every single time he sends in a new Pokemon, but then again, we're crazy strong, so maybe a level 100 could do it. Plus, I doubt that we could one-shot Skarmory for a very long time with its high defense and steel typing, and it's obviously just gonna go for Toxic to ruin us. I'm thinking I'll replace Ice Beam with Earthquake since that'll be a game changer against Aggron and Metagross, then I'll start making attempts. So I first try at level 65 and we do horribly, as expected. We're like 12 levels lower than him. It would take 3 Hyper Beams to take down Skarmory, and we missed one and got critted by Steel Wing. Not that it really mattered, we got hit by Toxic, so you know it's all over from that. I could hold a berry to get rid of that, but that would mean ditching the Silk Scarf, so I doubt it's worth it. Let's just jump all the way to level 75, so that we're at least close to his team in levels, because it's obvious we're not winning below this level. So I try again at 75, and it still goes awful, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. He uses Steel Wing, then Spikes, and we're faster, so that means that we could get 2 hits in before fainting. Now 2 hits only brought him to red health, and he just uses Toxic, then heals back up, so we're doomed, but we're close to getting a 2-shot. And he doesn't always use Toxic, so that means we could get past him soon. I'm gonna bump up to level 80, we might stand a chance around then. Okay, level 80. Okay, so this time, Hyper Beam seems to take him to exactly half health as he scatters Spikes, then hits a weak Steel Wing. That's fine, our next Hyper Beam took him out. Maybe we stand a chance. Armeldo is second, but is hurting us from Ancient Power, so I just Earthquake twice to take it out. I made sure to slack off first, though, so I could get into the next fight with more health, although we still lost quite a bit. I had to use Slack Off a ton thanks to his lucky critical hit, but once he ran out of Ancient Powers and had to switch move, we could get away with healing a lot more. Claydol's next, but it didn't hurt much with Earthquake. We actually couldn't one-shot it with Shadow Ball, and it set up Reflect, but again, it couldn't hurt us too much, so I healed back up and let it waste Reflect for a little while, before actually taking it out with less than half of our health left. Aggron was next, and it was charging for Solar Beam, so I just used Slack Off knowing it would hardly hurt us, and I was right. After that, I fully healed back up, then took another Solar Beam, then I switched to Earthquake to finish him off. We did lose health to Thunder near the end, though. Second from last was Credilli, and this thing was kind of a nightmare because of just how much it could heal between Ingrain and Giga Drain. We had no great answer for it, so we just had to keep hitting it, letting it heal off of us, and then heal ourselves when we could. It ran out of Giga Drains early, but then it was spamming Confuse Ray, so we'd hit ourselves too. We didn't have unlimited power points for Slack off when I ran out. I was really worried. We started hitting earthquakes, but he still has full restore, so he got to heal so much. It took an entire 4 minutes, but eventually, we took it out with a lot of our health left. Last was Metagross, who missed Meteor Mash right away, as we nearly one-shot it with Earthquake. Its second try hit us for decent damage, as did its third, so our health was low, but that's when we hit one last Earthquake to get a victory. That was brutal. I'm happy we won, though. That was an awesome run. I love doing these challenges with Pokemon that are super strong but have abilities that make them weaker, like Regigigas. I think I'm gonna have to try Slaking runs in Platinum and in Black sometime. I really hope you guys like that run. The next Pokemon challenge should be up next week on Saturday, like usual, with Pokemon Diamond, with only version exclusives. As always, I'm looking at your suggestions in the comment section, in the challenge request section of my Discord channel, and on Twitter. Subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned. Now I wish I could stay and talk to you forever, but my throat is really sore today. I don't really know why. I'm holding out hope that it's because I was dehydrated for a long time. I was in bed for like 12 or 13 hours last night. I was dead tired yesterday after a bad night's sleep, so I got in bed like really early, like 10 o'clock, which is really early for me, considering I woke up that day at noon or something. So I was in bed at like 10 o'clock, getting some early sleep. But then from like 4 in the morning until 10 in the morning, maybe noon, one of my cats, Rocky, was bugging me just non-stop. Oh, it was the worst. He's fine, he's doing fine and everything, just some days he's like that. He has food and everything, he just needed my attention, he needed to play, and so I had horrible, horrible sleep. I ended up sleeping in until like 2 p.m., so I've just been up, rushing to work, got some food in me, I got this voiceover done now, and in about an hour, I'm going to be streaming some more Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, which I've been having so much fun streaming for you guys. Oh, it's such a chill game, you know? I think I want to start doing the Chow Garden in Sonic Adventure 2 as well, streaming that again, because I used to stream that a lot, like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. So I want to get to streaming that again, and of course, uploading it here on YouTube. The only bad thing is I don't still have my save file from when I Let's Played Sonic Adventure 2. I did a Let's Play of that game, but like, I don't have that save file anymore because I ended up reinstalling stuff on a different hard drive since then, or a solid state drive. And that game doesn't have cloud saves, and I didn't manually keep the save because I didn't realize. So I had to start totally fresh. I gotta beat the whole campaign again so that, you know, I can do all the medals and get all the stuff for the Chow Garden and whatever. Ugh, so brutal, you know? Doesn't matter though, I'll have a fun time with the Chow Garden. Maybe I'll have already started streaming that by the time this video airs, but I don't know for sure, so check the playlists and sort by newest added, and you'll find out. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.